All right, so it sounds like you're looking to make retirement as tax efficient as possible,
That's right.
especially when it comes to those RMDs.
Yes.
Those required minimum distributions that kick in at age 73.
Uh-huh.
And maybe you've heard about this idea of a gold IRA,
Yeah.
and you're especially intrigued by the idea of taking distributions in physical gold.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got a whole stack of research and articles here
Okay,
to help us figure this out.
great.
So let's dive into how all this works and if it could be a smart move for you.
Well, it sounds like we've got a savvy listener on our hands here.
I think so.
It's really smart to be thinking about this now,
Yeah,
rather than waiting till those RMDs are right around the corner.
exactly.
Yeah,
So first things first,
sure.
when we talk about a gold IRA, we're not talking about ETFs or mining stocks.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about holding actual physical gold.
Right.
But how does that even work within a retirement account?
You got it.
Yeah.
A gold IRA is a type of self-directed IRA. Now, unlike a traditional IRA, where you're usually limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, a self-directed IRA gives you more control over your investments,
Okay.
including the ability to hold precious metals,
Interesting.
like gold and silver.
Okay, so you're basically becoming your own portfolio manager
You got it.
within the certain IRS guidelines.
Right.
That's interesting, but you still have to follow those RMD rules.
Absolutely.
Right.
The IRS doesn't care if your IRA holds stocks or gold bars.
Yeah.
Those RMDs still come knocking at age 73.
Okay.
But here's where things get really interesting with a gold IRA.
Okay.
You see, one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to take your RMDs in cash. With a gold IRA, you can actually take distributions in physical gold itself.
Wait, so you're telling me I could potentially have gold coins delivered to me
Yes.
to satisfy my RMD?
You could.
That seems almost too good to be true.
It can be a pretty compelling option,
Yeah.
especially for someone who believes in gold's long-term value. Remember, historically, gold has acted as a hedge against inflation, especially during periods of economic uncertainty. For example, during the high inflation of the 1970s,
Okay.
gold saw an increase of over 2,300%.
Wow.
And while past performance isn't a guarantee of future results,
Of course.
it does illustrate gold's potential.
Okay, so instead of seeing a chunk of my retirement savings go to the IRS in taxes,
Right.
I could potentially be holding on to physical gold that might appreciate in value over time.
Exactly.
I see how that could be appealing to someone concerned about inflation.
Yeah, you're not just fulfilling the IRS requirements.
Yeah.
You're potentially diversifying your portfolio with a tangible asset that has historically held its value well during market volatility.
That makes sense, but let's be realistic. Gold prices can fluctuate too.
Sure.
Are there any downsides or risks to holding a significant portion of your retirement savings in physical gold?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it highlights why a gold IRA should be part of a diversified retirement strategy.
Right.
Not your entire strategy.
Mm-hmm.
While gold can be a powerful hedge against inflation,
Yeah.
it doesn't always outperform a well-diversified stock portfolio
Okay.
over the long term.
Right.
And there are storage costs to consider as well.
Right. So you can't just stash those gold bars under your mattress.
No, you can't.
Security is a big concern.
Definitely.
So how does storage work with a gold IRA?
Yeah.
Do I get to keep the gold in a safe at home?
Not quite.
Okay.
The IRS has specific rules for gold IRAs.
Uh-huh.
And one of them is that your gold must be held by a qualified custodian.
Okay.
This ensures the security and integrity of your investment.
So I'm choosing a company to be the guardian of my gold,
Yes.
and I'm trusting that they're reputable and secure.
Right.
That sounds like a critical piece of the puzzle.
It is. And that brings us to the importance of carefully selecting a gold IRA provider,
Okay.
which we'll dive into more deeply a bit
Looking
later.
forward to that.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to this whole in-kind distribution thing.
Sure.
You mentioned that I can take my RMDs in physical gold.
Uh-huh.
But how does that actually work in practice?
Well, when it comes time to take your RMD,
Yeah.
you have a couple of options.
Okay.
You can either take possession of the physical gold,
Okay.
which would be shipped to you from the custodian,
Uh-huh.
or you can opt for a sell and distribute option,
Okay.
where the custodian sells a portion of your gold holdings
Yeah.
and sends you the cash proceeds.
Okay, so there's flexibility there,
There is.
depending on your individual needs and goals.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So we've covered the basics of what a gold IRA is.
Right.
The fact that you can take RMDs and physical gold,
Uh-huh.
and the need for a qualified custodian.
Right.
What else do we need to unpack about how these gold IRAs actually work
Yeah,
within a retirement strategy?
great question.
We were just talking about choosing the right gold IRA provider.
Right.
And it sounds like that's a pretty crucial decision,
Yeah, it is.
especially since we're entrusting them with a significant portion of our retirement savings.
Right?
Where do we even begin with that process?
You're absolutely right. The provider you choose can really make or break your gold IRA experience.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like any industry dealing with valuable assets, there are some bad actors out there. So due diligence is essential.
Okay, so let's talk due diligence.
Uh-huh.
What are the red flags we should be looking for?
Okay.
And more importantly, what are the green lights that signal we found a reputable provider?
Let's start with the green lights.
Okay.
First and foremost, you want a provider with a proven track record
Okay.
and a transparent fee structure.
Uh-huh.
Look for a company that's been in business for a while,
Okay.
has a solid reputation in the industry,
Right.
and is upfront about all their fees.
So experience and transparency are key.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What about the fees themselves? What's a reasonable fee structure for a gold IRA?
That's where it gets a bit tricky,
Right.
as fee structures can vary widely,
Yeah.
depending on the provider and the services they offer.
Uh-huh.
You'll typically encounter setup fees,
Okay.
annual maintenance fees, storage fees, and sometimes even transaction fees when you buy or sell gold.
Okay, so it's not just one flat fee,
Right.
a combination of different fees.
Yeah.
That sounds like it could get confusing pretty quickly.
It can, which is why it's crucial to compare apples to apples
Right.
when evaluating different providers.
Okay.
Don't just focus on the lowest annual fee.
Yeah.
Consider the overall cost picture, including all potential fees
Uh-huh.
associated with managing your gold IRA.
So we're reading the fine print and crunching those numbers.
Yes, you are.
What else should we be looking for?
Security is paramount when dealing with precious metals.
Okay.
You want a provider that offers secure, insured storage options,
Okay.
preferably with multiple locations to mitigate risk.
Multiple locations. Why is that important?
Think of it like this. You wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
The same logic applies to storing your gold.
Yeah.
Diversifying storage locations helps protect your investment in case of any unforeseen event like a natural disaster
Okay.
or even political instability.
Okay, I see. So we're looking for a provider with a proven track record,
Right.
transparent fees, and robust security measures.
Yeah.
What about customer service?
Excellent point. You're not just buying gold. You're entering into a long-term relationship with this provider.
Yeah.
So you want a company that's responsive to your questions,
Okay.
provides clear guidance on managing your gold IRA,
Right.
and is there to support you, especially when it comes to those RMDs.
Sounds like we're looking for a partner, not just a vendor.
Yeah, exactly.
How can we gauge a provider's customer service before we sign on the dotted line?
That's where those online reviews come in handy.
Okay.
Websites like the Better Business Bureau
Uh-huh.
and TrustLink can offer insights into a company's reputation
Yeah.
and how they handle customer issues.
Yeah.
Reading reviews from other gold IRA holders can be invaluable in getting a feel for a provider's customer service.
Right. Kind of like checking those Yelp reviews before trying a new restaurant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to contact the providers directly
Okay.
and ask questions. How responsive are they?
Oh.
Do they answer your questions thoroughly?
Right.
And in a way you understand.
Yeah.
First impressions can be telling.
Okay, so we're doing our research, comparing fees,
Right.
checking out security measures,
Uh-huh.
and getting a feel for their customer service. Sounds like a pretty thorough vetting process.
It is.
Anything else we should keep in mind?
One more thing. Make sure the provider you choose is IRS approved.
Yeah.
This ensures they meet the regulatory requirements for holding and managing retirement assets.
Got it.
You can usually find this information on the provider's website or by contacting them directly.
So IRS approval is non-negotiable.
It is.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here regarding choosing a provider.
You have.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the gold itself.
Sure.
I've heard that not all gold is created equal
Right.
when it comes to gold IRAs.
That's right. The IRS has specific guidelines on what types of gold
Oh.
are eligible for inclusion in a gold IRA.
Uh-huh.
For example, your gold bars
Okay.
must meet certain fineness requirements,
Okay.
meaning they must be at least 99.5% pure.
So there are purity standards.
There are.
Okay.
And for gold coins, only certain coins are permitted,
Okay.
such as American Gold Eagles
Uh-huh.
or Canadian Maple Leafs.
Okay, so there are purity standards and specific coins that are allowed.
Yes.
I'm assuming that means I can't just throw my grandma's antique gold necklace into my gold IRA.
Unfortunately not, while sentimental value is priceless.
Yeah.
Those types of gold items don't meet the IRS requirements for a gold IRA.
Good to know. So it's all about purity. And meeting those IRS standards, what about the different forms of gold?
Oh.
Is it better to hold gold coins or gold bars in a gold IRA?
That's a great question. There are pros and cons to both.
Okay.
Gold coins are generally more liquid,
Okay.
meaning they're easier to buy and sell, and they come in smaller denominations,
Okay.
which can be helpful for managing those RMDs.
So more flexibility with coins.
Right.
When it comes to those distributions, what about bars?
Gold bars, on the other hand,
Okay.
tend to have lower premiums,
Okay.
meaning you're paying less over the spot price of gold.
Uh-huh.
They can be a more cost-effective option if you're looking to hold larger quantities of gold.
Okay, so coins for liquidity and flexibility.
Right.
Bars for cost effectiveness. That's helpful to know.
Yeah.
So we found a reputable provider.
Uh-huh.
We understand the types of gold that are allowed.
Okay.
And we've even considered the pros and cons of coins versus bars.
Right.
Now, how do we actually integrate this gold IRA into our overall retirement strategy in a way that maximizes those tax advantages?
That's where the strategic thinking comes in.
Okay.
And it all starts with understanding your individual financial situation and goals.
Uh-huh.
Are you looking for maximum diversification?
Okay.
Are you primarily concerned about inflation hedging?
Yeah.
Or are you strategically planning to minimize those RMD tax hits?
Okay, so different goals might lead to different gold IRA strategies.
Exactly.
Let's break down some specific scenarios.
Okay.
For example, what if I'm approaching age 73 and I'm staring down some hefty RMDs from my traditional IRA
Right.
that are going to bump me into a higher tax bracket?
Yeah.
How could a gold IRA help in that situation?
That's a common concern, and a gold IRA could potentially offer a solution.
Okay.
You could consider rolling over a portion of those traditional IRA assets
Mhm.
into a gold IRA.
So I'm diversifying my holdings and potentially reducing the tax burden
Yes.
on those RMDs.
Exactly. Remember, you can choose to take those RMDs in physical gold, which could potentially appreciate in value over time, further mitigating the tax impact.
Interesting. So in essence, I'm satisfying the IRS requirements,
Right.
diversifying my portfolio, and potentially hedging against inflation,
Right.
all in one move.
That's the idea. Of course, consulting with a qualified financial advisor
Yeah.
is always recommended to ensure this strategy aligns with your overall retirement goals and risk tolerance.
Absolutely. Getting personalized advice is key.
It is.
Any other scenarios where a gold IRA could be strategically advantageous?
Let's say you're already retired and living comfortably on your current income,
Okay.
but you're concerned about the long-term impact of inflation
Yeah.
on your purchasing power.
That's a valid concern even at a moderate 3% inflation rate.
Right.
The cost of goods and services doubles roughly every 23 years.
Yeah.
That could significantly impact my lifestyle down the road.
Exactly. And that's where a gold IRA could play a role.
Okay.
You could gradually start moving a portion of your traditional IRA assets into a gold IRA as a hedge against inflation.
So it's a proactive approach to preserving my purchasing power
It is.
over the long term.
That's one way to look at it. And when it comes time to take those RMDs, you have the option of receiving them in physical gold, which could offer more peace of mind
Right.
than seeing your purchasing power erode away year after year.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about buying gold.
It's not.
It's about strategically using a gold IRA as a tool
Right.
to manage risk,
Right.
potentially reduce taxes, and preserve wealth.
Exactly.
But I have to admit, the whole self-directed IRA concept still feels a bit foreign to me.
Yeah.
How is a self-directed IRA different from a traditional IRA
Okay.
in terms of the rules and regulations?
That's a great question, and it's important to understand the nuances. While both traditional and self-directed IRAs offer tax advantage savings for retirement,
Yeah.
the key difference lies in the types of investments they allow.
Okay, so traditional IRAs are more limited
They are.
in their investment options.
Yes.
You mentioned stocks, bonds, and mutual funds earlier.
Exactly. Traditional IRAs are typically managed by brokerage firms or banks,
Okay.
and they offer a more limited menu of investment choices.
Uh-huh.
Self-directed IRAs, on the other hand, give you much more control.
So I'm essentially becoming my own portfolio manager
You are.
within the structure of a self-directed IRA.
Yes. But with that freedom comes responsibility.
Right.
You're responsible for researching and selecting your investments.
Right.
And you need to be aware of the IRS rules and regulations
Yeah.
governing self-directed IRAs.
Right. It's not a set it and forget it type of investment.
It's not.
What are some of the key IRS rules that we need to be aware of
Okay.
when it comes to self-directed IRAs, particularly those holding gold?
Well, one crucial rule is the prohibition of disqualified persons
Okay.
from benefiting from your IRA.
Uh,
This means you can't sell the gold in your IRA to a family member
okay.
or use it as collateral for a personal loan.
Okay, so there are some clear boundaries in place
There are.
to prevent self-dealing or conflicts of interest.
What else? Another important rule is the requirement to hold your gold with an IRS-approved custodian.
Right.
We talked about this earlier when discussing provider selection.
Uh-huh.
This ensures the gold is held in a secure and compliant manner.
Right, so we can't just store those gold bars in our basement safe?
No, you can't.
What about the tax implications of a gold IRA?
Okay.
Are the withdrawals taxed differently than a traditional IRA?
The tax treatment of a gold IRA is very similar to a traditional IRA.
Okay.
Contributions are typically tax deductible.
Uh-huh.
Your earnings grow tax deferred,
Okay.
and withdrawals in retirement are taxed as ordinary income.
Okay, so it's the same tax advantage structure,
It is.
just with more flexibility in terms of investments.
Right.
Now, we've talked a lot about the potential benefits of a gold IRA,
We have.
but are there any potential drawbacks or risks that we should be aware of?
That's a great question, and it's important to go into this with a balanced perspective.
Yeah.
One potential drawback is that gold doesn't generate income,
Okay.
like dividends or interest payments.
Right.
So if you're looking for an income-producing asset in retirement,
Yeah.
gold might not be the best fit.
Right. It's more about capital appreciation
Uh-huh.
and preservation of purchasing power.
Right.
Any other potential risks?
Another risk is the potential for price volatility.
Okay.
While gold has historically been a safe haven asset,
Okay.
its price can fluctuate sometimes significantly.
Right.
So it's important to have a long-term investment horizon
Okay.
and be prepared for potential ups and downs in the market.
Okay, so it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
No, it's right.
It's a long-term strategy
It is.
that requires patience and a certain tolerance for risk.
Exactly.
What about the argument that gold's long-term returns
Okay.
don't necessarily outperform a well-diversified stock portfolio?
Uh-huh.
How would you address that concern?
It's true that stocks have historically outperformed gold over very long periods. However, gold's role in a portfolio isn't necessarily about maximizing returns. It's about diversification
Right.
and hedging against specific risks, such as inflation and market volatility.
So it's about finding the right balance
Yeah,
for your individual needs and risk tolerance.
it is.
Gold might play a larger role in a portfolio for someone who is highly concerned about inflation,
Right.
while someone with a higher risk tolerance might allocate a larger portion to stocks.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that diversification doesn't guarantee profits
Uh-huh.
or eliminate the risk of losses.
Right.
It's about managing risk and potentially reducing the impact of market swings on your overall portfolio.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits,
Yeah,
the risks, and the importance of diversification.
we have.
Anything else we need to unpack before we wrap things up? I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about how gold IRAs work, the ins and outs of those in-kind distributions,
Right.
the importance of choosing a solid provider.
Yeah,
We even dove into the nuances of self-directed IRAs.
we did.
Any final thoughts or key takeaways you want to highlight before we wrap things up?
I think the key takeaway here is that a gold IRA can be a really valuable tool for certain investors,
Okay.
particularly those looking to diversify their retirement portfolio,
Uh-huh.
hedge against inflation,
Right.
or potentially reduce their tax burden.
Yeah.
But like any investment strategy,
Yeah.
it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. It's about understanding the potential benefits and risks
Exactly.
and seeing if it aligns with your individual needs and goals.
Uh-huh.
What questions should our listener be asking themselves as they consider whether a gold IRA is the right fit
Yeah.
for their retirement plan?
First and foremost, what are your primary concerns heading into retirement?
Okay.
Are you worried about inflation eroding your purchasing power? Are you looking for an asset that tends to hold its value during times of market volatility? Or are you primarily focused on minimizing your tax liability?
Okay, so identify those key concerns.
What else? Next, consider your risk tolerance.
Okay.
Gold prices can fluctuate,
Right.
and while it has historically been a safe haven asset, it's not without risk.
Yeah.
are you comfortable with the potential for short-term price swings
Okay.
in exchange for the potential long-term benefit?
Right. No investment is a guaranteed win.
Exactly.
It's all about managing risk
Uh-huh.
and aligning your investments with your comfort level.
Right.
What other questions should be on our listeners' mind?
Think about your overall portfolio allocation.
Okay.
How would a gold IRA fit into your existing retirement assets?
Yeah.
Would it enhance diversification?
Uh-huh.
Would it potentially offset risks in other areas of your portfolio?
So it's not just about gold in isolation.
Right.
It's about how it interacts with the rest of our investments. What final piece of advice would you give our listener
Okay.
as they continue exploring their gold IRA options?
I would say don't rush into any decisions.
Okay.
Do your research, talk to a trusted financial advisor,
Yeah.
and make sure you fully understand the implications of adding a gold IRA to your retirement plan.
Excellent advice. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our financial well-being.
It is.
Well, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about today.
I think so too.
If you're intrigued by the idea of diversifying your retirement portfolio
Yeah.
with a tangible asset that has a history of holding its value,
Uh-huh.
a gold IRA might be worth exploring further.
It might be.
All right, and on that note,
Okay.
we'll wrap up this deep dive into gold IRAs and RMDs.
Sounds good.
But before we go, I wanted to leave you with a thought-provoking question
Okay.
to ponder as you continue your research and shape your retirement strategy.
Okay.
Considering the current economic climate,
Yep.
the potential for future inflation, and the uncertainties that lie ahead,
Right.
how could incorporating a gold IRA impact your long-term financial security and peace of mind in retirement?
That's a good question.
We'll be back next week to explore a completely different topic.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those brain cells firing.
Yes.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.